on with drivers these days. They're getting better and better at their own their public relations training.
Let's have a long-awaited word with Allan McNish. He's with Bruce.
Allan McNish, it was looking so positive before you went out in the warm-up this morning, but I've just seen you limping off the grid. You're not racing?
No, unfortunately I'm not going to be racing in this Grand Prix. After the accident from yesterday, I rested for the rest of the day, and I took part in the warm-up this morning, but after a medical examination afterwards, they felt that it was best that I didn't compete.
So it's not your decision or the team's decision, it's the decision of Prof Watkins?
Yeah, we obviously, that's why we've got medical delegates, and they looked after me yesterday and then again this morning and felt that it wasn't the correct thing to do for the long term.
And is it now stiffening up quite a lot more as the bruising expands?
No, certainly the bruising's there's no question. It comes out over the next couple of days, but it's not too bad. But I think, you know, their concern was more if it was over a period of time in the car, it could create some problems.
But it must be enormously disappointing. This was due to be your last Grand Prix with Toyota. Who knows for next year, but you wanted to go out with some style.
Oh, there's no question about it. I think I went out with style, but not just quite the way that we wanted. For myself and also for, you know, all the Japanese fans, it is a great disappointment because we wanted to have two Toyotas as far up in the race as possible. However, they've got one to support now.
Tough luck, Allan. Thanks for talking.
Thank you.
As well, and Alex Yoong's position likely to be taken by perhaps another driver bringing money to the team for 2003. That's the lineup. That's how they will be starting here today. 53 laps they will have to go through till we find out who's going to be the last winner of the season.
Yes, and there's the view from the grid down into turn one, and it isn't that wide on the entry, and it's critical to be on the inside of the corner. That's the clean line. We saw what happened to Fisichella this morning in the warm-up when he went in slightly wide. He got onto the dirty part of the track and it just drew him out to the edge, and once he got to the edge, then the curbing just sucked him all the way in to the gravel trap. And well, somebody who may well try the wide line here, because he did it so many times when he raced in Formula 3000, is Eddie Irvine. And the only difficulty is that if you do take that wide line, now you've got to be careful that it is a dirtier line, but most principally because if you're on the outside of another car, they may not even know that you are there, and as they then come out and up to the middle and outside of the corner, you can find yourself squeezed either off track or in a wheel banging situation.
So the two McLarens, David Coulthard and Kimi Räikkönen, lining up right behind the Ferraris. There is Michael Schumacher, the 100th Grand Prix for Bridgestone since they came into Formula One in 1997. Their most successful season to date, and they want to wrap it up with victory here on home territory at Suzuka. Well, McLaren will be trying to take the battle to Ferrari, but we all know how tough that has been throughout the season. What's going to happen on the first lap? Now they're going off on their warm-up lap. Let's just watch them as they use that launch control.
Well, not very much launch control from Barrichello. He wanted to lay lots of rubber on the dirty side of the racetrack, and well, pretty much the entire field doing much the same, as lots of dry ices shed from those radiator intakes. So, and that's a problem.
Very
yes,
slow away.
And
I think it's Trulli rather than Button. I think Button got away okay,
but he'll be able to make up his position because he didn't fall to the very tail of the field. The regulation stipulates as long as you can make your way back up through the field, or you haven't dropped to the tail. So everybody got away, but slightly hesitantly for Jarno Trulli.
Yes, that was a worrying moment for the team, but as you say, he managed to just get going before being passed by the last few, so he will be able to repass those guys that he dropped behind. He should be starting 11th, remember, so moving up ahead of Nick Heidfeld again. There's Salo, he starts in 13th place, so he's got to make his way through those cars. Let's just hope that it's not a problem with the launch control that's going to affect him once he comes around for the actual start itself. There are the two Jordans then, and of course for this man David Richards, he wants his man Villeneuve in particular to get ahead of the Jordans and win that little battle that's going on in the Constructors' Championship.
Well, the field's fairly well spread out in this. Like, there you see the tail end just coming out of the hairpin bend, whereas the lead cars are actually through. The two Ferraris gone, the McLaren's coming out of Spoon, and So Michael Schumacher will want to slow this field down as soon as possible to get the field bunched back up again to ensure he doesn't have to wait in the grid unnecessarily long.
Michael Schumacher just builds up a little bit of tyre temperature. Rubens Barrichello right behind him as we prepare for the start of the last Grand Prix of 2002. A lot of work going on there to just maintain tyre temperature, build it up. Montoya not weaving around much, but Takuma Sato is. And they're just bringing the cars up now towards the final chicane. The cars have got quite spread out on this lap, but it won't take long for them to all concertina together.
Yeah, one of the cars moving around a lot was Kimi Raikkonen. He was really trying to get a lot of energy into the tyre by flicking it side to side, generating heat in the sidewall again. Midfield, the Saibers, Toyota with Salo, Jaguar, and Norbert Haug of Mercedes-Benz stands in the Mercedes and the McLaren garage alongside Ron Dennis to watch the start of this race. Nobody allowed, of course, on the pit wall until the cars have completed this first lap, and then they all troop out. So Michael Schumacher comes up, takes his position, and the field slowly makes its way around.
Well, it's been a difficult start to the day already for Jordan, and Fisichella having to drive the spare car. Not ideal situation at all, as it had been set up for Takuma Sato, but Fisichella, so experienced, will now have to make the most of what he's got. Jarno Trulli has been able to retake his grid position, although he was slow away on the start of the formation lap. He has retaken his 11th place, so far so good. Let's hope that he gets away cleanly at the actual start of this race. The two Minardis are the last two cars to move into position, and the Ferraris are out to try and take a 1-2 finish again, yet another this year. Will they do it? Will they get through the first lap cleanly? The red lights come on, and the final Grand Prix of 2002 is underway. Michael Schumacher tries to get away. Good start there. Second place is Barrichello as the two McLarens charging down. Coulthard's in third and coming around the outside. Good start by Ralf Schumacher by the looks of things as they head round turn one. Let's hope they keep it clean. Excellent start for Michael Schumacher, getting away extremely well.
And the two Renaults side by side up through the S's, getting very close indeed as they pursue the two Jordans. But a great start from Coulthard and Ralf Schumacher. Kimi Raikkonen the lose ride, and that one drops back one place, trapped now between the two Williams BMW.
Jarno Trulli moved ahead of Jenson Button there, so reversing where they were in qualifying. Jenson Button loses the place to his teammate, and Trulli had the problem moving away on the formation lap, but the launch control worked perfectly at the actual start, and it's moved him just ahead of his teammate.
And Giancarlo Fisichella drops back to 11th place. Now that may be a function of him starting in the spare car, a car he is not familiar with, and suddenly realising that I've not got the car I had over 2 days of practice and qualifying.
Well, that's disappointing for Fisichella to lose several places at the start. Sato's got away cleanly, though, and he stays in 7th place, and it is the yellow Jordan that's just ahead of the two Renaults as the Ferraris come through. It's Coulthard in 3rd place, but Kimi Raikkonen, for a change, he's usually very quick running down to the first corner, but Raikkonen got passed by Ralf Schumacher, and again, it's that dirty side versus clean side of the track. The clean side of the track certainly had the advantage this time.
Well, look at the advantage. That's almost 2 seconds as Michael Schumacher, and somebody goes wide, and that was Jacques Villeneuve coming out at 130R, kicks up the dust, and but Michael Schumacher comes across the line. 2.2 seconds advantage in the first lap, and that is pretty amazing.
That is astonishing. Rubens Barrichello cannot maintain that sort of pace at the moment, and there's a little battle going on. Felipe Massa coming under attack from Villeneuve, who lost several places just now. Oh, he's quick into turn one. Can he hold it? Yes, he can. Good move from Jacques Villeneuve.
Yes, and Felipe Massa round wide as he came into turn one. He lost any. Let's watch back here at the start.
Let's take a look. Good start from Michael Schumacher. Coulthard, not a brilliant getaway, but he was quick to cover the inside. It was Ralf Schumacher who did well.
Yes, Ralf got down. He almost got alongside Coulthard, then made space for himself between the two McLarens, and that consolidates in 4th place. But look at that. The two Renaults coming around the outside, and Giancarlo Fisichella getting forced back behind Nick Heidfeld in his Sauber.
Yes, Trulli went round the outside of Button, and then Button got a bit held up by Takuma Sato. This is the view from on board Kimi Raikkonen. Coulthard right ahead of you. On the outside is Ralf Schumacher, and Kimi had to be a bit sensible there, I suppose.
Yes, so the way Coulthard actually almost seemed to brake marginally early, which of course blocked Raikkonen and gave Ralf Schumacher the opportunity to slide down the outside, then cut in front of Raikkonen, and he'll not be very happy, having worked hard to get 4th on the grid, back to 5th in the race.
So Schumacher flicks it into the fast left-hander at 130R, and positions remain solid at the moment. Sato stays in front of those two Renaults. Heidfeld ahead of Fisichella. Salo looks like he might be a little bit of a threat. Mika Salo running in 12th place, not far behind the BAR Honda of Giancarlo Fisichella as Michael Schumacher crosses the line. 2 laps completed, the gap opened up to 3 seconds now.
And Michael Schumacher comfortably easy to pull away as Ralf Schumacher, he's making progress well. He's 7/10 of a second behind David Coulthard, but here's Olivier Panis driving down into turn 1.
So riding on board with the Frenchman. Car ahead of Olivier Panis is Pedro de la Rosa in the Jag.
To try and pass. Hairpin bend is a possibility, but you've got to be quick and brave, and then you're really only left with the chance into that chicane at the end of a lap, and if you can't do it there, then you lose your momentum all the way round.
Schumacher is just disappearing. The new lap record, although that's not actually quicker than last year, all the fast laps will be lap records today because the track has changed very slightly from last year. It's just been the actual track length is slightly shorter because they've made 1 or 2 alterations to runoff areas. So lap records every time we see a fastest lap. Montoya coming through there in 6th place. Takuma Sato still holding on to 7th position. And at the moment fending off the Renaults of Jarno Trulli, Jenson Button.
Yes, big lock-up, I think it was from Trulli as he came into the chicane, and on this, the 4th lap.
Olivier Panis still chasing these 2 Jaguars. They come safely through the chicane. As we just listened to a little bit of short radio communication there. The 2 Williams BMW drivers then. Ralf Schumacher running 4th, Montoya down in 6th, split by Kimi Raikkonen in the McLaren Mercedes. But Michael Schumacher really on form. You know, Spa and Suzuka are his 2 favourite tracks, John. At Spa we saw a real demonstration drive from Michael Schumacher. It could well be this, we see the same thing here.
I think this is going to be what I said, a masterclass from Michael Schumacher. Again, what we don't know is whether the Ferrari drivers have got equal fuel on board, whether they've done something slightly different. As we look at Rubens Barrichello in 2nd place, David Coulthard in 3rd.
Oh, we've got a
Felipe Massa, yes,
yep.
And that's up at Degner corner. So the young Brazilian, the same place that we saw Juan Pablo Montoya go off in Friday. He's done the same thing. He's probably ridden the curb, but that car is over and out, and his last race of the season is his last race in Formula One.
Well, yes, that's a great shame for Felipe Massa to end the season like that. And he's driven well this year, hasn't made too many unforced errors in the races themselves, but it does look as though that could have been. Let's see if there was anybody else involved.
No, he just ran wide on the exit of that first part. Slowed down a lot better than we saw Montoya do on Friday. And there's the view. This is from Olivier Panis. And that was a battle that Felipe Massa was involved in. He was slightly ahead of the 2 Jaguars, but nonetheless, well, a lot of hard work for nothing, and that was on lap 4. The cars now come round and compete that 4th lap, go on to lap 5. But Michael Schumacher, another new lap record. As you see, 1:37.106, now 3.5 seconds ahead of his teammate.
So it's all looking good at the moment. Let's ride with him for a moment or 2. A little yellow flag in the corner of the screen indicating the actual area where the yellow is being shown. The yellow dots at the top of the screen indicating that there is a yellow at some point around the track. A completely clear road ahead of Michael Schumacher, and it's a 3.5 second back to Rubens gap back to Rubens Barrichello in 2nd place. Very composed, and now let's just watch him along the fastest section, up to nearly 200 miles an hour along this section, and now listen at 130. Well, certainly with a heavy fuel load on the car, he's not quite flat out through there.
Yes, but then one has to ask the question, is it a heavy fuel load or a slightly lighter one? Because the speed Michael's driving at, I mean, we've got a new lap record, 1:37.106, compared to the fastest lap last year, which Ralf Schumacher said, this is the 5th lap. Ralf Schumacher set that lap in lap 46, at a 36.994. So the speed Michael is doing relative to qualifying is much quicker, a much quicker race pace than we saw last year from the leader and the new world champion.
But of course, we know how good the Ferrari is here. Now, let's just see what Kimi Räikkönen is up to. Of course, he's running in 5th place, losing that 4th position on the start down to the first corner to Ralf Schumacher. So Ralf in the Williams BMW. It's a good battle, likely in prospect really, between Williams and McLaren throughout this race. And the question is who will come out on top. Well, David Coulthard is the best at the moment. He's running 3rd overall. You're looking at Olivier Panis here. He's still a long way down the order. In fact, he's lost ground.
To drive into the garage, please.
He's got a problem. Both Minardis.
Can you see a problem?
I think that was some sort of throttle problem.
Hello, San, what would you like us to do? All our telemetry, lambda data and another data is no problem.
And there we could hear from the Honda engineer saying,
amazing.
Well, we've got no problem being shown on our telemetry.
Well,
So-
sounds to be, was it working now? Well, maybe not. It's difficult to judge. There's something wrong. So Olivier Panis, once again, seemingly is the driver who always gets the problems and dropped back very quickly behind the two Minardis once that problem arose. Back to Mika Salo now. Salo running behind Giancarlo Fisichella in the spare Jordan.
Yes, this is one of the closest battles so far. Salo, so much experience of racing in Japan and at Suzuka from his earlier career, as well as in Grand Prix racing. And looking for an opportunity. If anyone can pass here, then Salo could be the one. And he's able to run pretty close behind the Jordan, despite the loss of downforce that he'll suffer through particularly this next section, the S's coming up here. Now, behind them is Jacques Villeneuve. So Villeneuve, having made that mistake earlier on, now trying to make up for it. But I think we'll see Panis heading into the pits now.
Yeah, it's taken him quite a long time to complete this lap, and there the team prepared for him. He's certainly not going to drive into the garages, I think, that he probably might like to have done. The car will stop on the pit lane, the team will dive into it, but if it's something serious, then they'll probably say it's all over, and Olivier Panis will walk away from Suzuka, further disappointed by his last race in BAR Honda.
Yep, next year he moves to Toyota. Let's just see what happens as he comes in. The camera mounted looking sideways from the car, and the crew have a quick look around. Engines off. Now I wonder if they can do any resetting of parameters here and actually get this thing to work and see if it's worth sending him back out again. Oh, and there's somebody else, McLaren slowing down.
Coming down the straight, and that is Dave. It is Coulthard.
It is, I think, Coulthard slowing down. Yes, it is. David Coulthard going very slowly indeed from 3rd position. What a disappointment. Panis is indeed being sent back out. They might have been able to reset the electronics. Let's hope that car's running okay. But David Coulthard, oh, what a disappointment. In a strong 3rd place here, and it's all over for him.
Yes, there's no apparent reason. There's no certainly signs of it being an engine problem, which is what you'd first assume. So we have to wait and see, but maybe more electronics or possibly hydraulics. So that puts Takuma Sato now up into 6th place and in the points.
Yep, that would give Jordan 1 point. It would put them ahead of BAR. It would tie them with Jaguar now. Well, it's all happening, but it's at a very, very early stage of the race. We're only on lap number 7. And that's a surprise to see Coulthard out so early. It's usually Räikkönen who's had the mechanical problems.
Well, whatever the problem is, there is no question about working on the car. In the pit lane, it is directed immediately into the garage, and the doors will be brought down to preclude anybody getting an idea as to what has caused David Coulthard to retire after only 7 laps of this 53-lap Grand Prix.
So Panis back on track, but Coulthard out of the last Grand Prix of the year. All the hard work of free practice and qualifying, I'm afraid, has only lasted a few laps in the Grand Prix itself.
So Panis very wide as there he's gone back out, but still got the problem as the two Jaguars running just ahead of the two Minardis. Now we've seen this happen before, but in this instance we're second guessing, but we think that both Jaguars could be attempting to do a one-stop race. Probably no point in doing 2 from where they were on the grid, and they might as well take the chance and go for something that may work for them by the time this Grand Prix concludes.
Gap first to second, up to 4.2 seconds. There's Ralf Schumacher, who now runs in third place, of course, with Coulthard having gone out. And he'll be pleased about that. That start seeming even more worthwhile. There's Montoya running down in fifth place behind the remaining McLaren Mercedes of Kimi Raikkonen.
And interestingly, that Ralf Schumacher on the lap that David Coulthard does retire records his fastest lap of the Grand Prix.
To follow him, that Trulli is probably capable of going that bit quicker if he could find a way past the Jordan. Olivier Panis, this time it is all over.
Yes, it was, I think, pretty inevitable, and the team certainly tried, and they're still working at it. Well, they're going to take the bodywork off, and maybe that's the only way they can get at the particular problem. And I suppose being in Japan, with Honda very present indeed, if they can get that car to run, they will send them back out. It may not be what Olivier Panis would prefer to do, but let's watch how Takuma Sato deals with the presence of Jarno Trulli. The gap is 0.3 of a second as they came across the line.
Oh, we've got a Minardi spot. It's Alex Young
down at the hairpin bend. So, and he needs to get the car back on track, but somewhat of an unforced error. He was running ahead of Mark Webber, which all credit to Alex Young. He hasn't done terribly often this year, but whether just a bit of too much pressure or just lack of concentration. So the young Malayan driver, let's see, well, he was all on his own.
Yep, comes down towards the hairpin. Let's just see, turns into, and the back end breaks away, and there's not a lot he can do. So fortunately Webber gets through safely, and we've just heard that David Coulthard had a throttle failure. Sounds as though it might be something similar going on with Panis' car. It seems odd on completely different types of car, but that has put Coulthard out of the Grand Prix.
Well, Barrichello fighting for his second place. He's got 10.2 seconds advantage now over Ralf Schumacher, so he's not under pressure. But in the meantime, Michael Schumacher in that first sector, once again, fastest time so far of the Grand Prix. 4.7 seconds advantage as they came across the line at the end of lap 9. He's coming across that second sector time. Wait to see whether it's any quicker, or it is again. So Schumacher deciding now is the time to put even more pressure on his teammate to pull further away, and the gap when they come across the line is going to be closer to 5 seconds than the current 4.7.
Well, 9 laps, as you say, to 10 laps be completed this time as he comes across the line. The gap some 15 seconds back to Ralf Schumacher, who's running in third. Barrichello did try 3 stops here last year, and he would come in on around lap number 15 if they're on 3 stops, so there would still be a little way to go.
Yes, Ben, on lap 10, Michael Schumacher has actually beaten the previous fastest lap, which was Ralf Schumacher's. We watch him now, set on lap 46 in last year's Grand Prix. So a huge amount of development, but principally, I think, from tyres. As Raikkonen looked a little bit lumpy, like he might have just caught the wheel in the turn, and David saying thank you very much to the guys. So whether David's about to leave fairly rapidly and start his week's holiday he's been looking forward to, not prepared to stay around and see what happens to his young Finnish teammate. It seems that David is on his way out of Suzuka as quickly as possible.
Well, that's the way it goes sometimes, and David just has to think forward and look forward to next year now, and really not worry about 2002 anymore. Meanwhile, there's still battles going on that we can concentrate on. There's Mika Salo still trying to hound down Giancarlo Fisichella. And Fisichella, no doubt, having got to grips a little more with the spare car. Villeneuve's also using the spare car, but that was set up for him, and he just decided to use the spare. He felt happier with it. So he's involved in that little battle, and of course these 3 guys will be looking towards the pit stops perhaps for place changes to be made, but they need to stay close together to have that opportunity.
Yes, everything's moving towards. I'm just watching Jarno Trulli. A very sudden, again, that very abrupt sudden snap from the rear of the Renault. We've seen that with other Michelin tired cars. But Mika Salo, he's fighting with Fisichella. But really, it's
closer, really, that we can overtake, or what do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, even to the extent of maybe bringing him in earlier if he's getting stuck behind. I'm going to ask him a question in a couple of laps.
But if we stay like this, we might reduce the front bit limiter and ask him to use the overtake switch. But I will wait for you then.
Okay.
So it sounds like the Toyota team working out some strategy here. Of course, if you are stuck behind another car, it can often be a good idea to bring the car in early and therefore get a bit of clear track that you can set some quick lap times and hopefully then give you the advantage when you do make the stop.
Then just again listening to David Coulthard on the Sky Channel, he's suggesting that the pace that Ferrari are running at might indicate that they're even considering this three-stop strategy, which is very unusual. It might just be a way for Ferrari to play to the crowds maybe a little bit more, certainly add some excitement into this Grand Prix. And if that is what they're intending to do, well, this race is by no means over. It may be a slightly artificial, or it might be just Michael Schumacher's on that three-stop strategy. The gap coming across that second sector is reduced down to 4.6, 4.7 as they went across the line.
Yeah, Michael certainly very much in control. And the gap between himself and third place, Ralf Schumacher, some 16.9 seconds last time around. We'll get an idea what it is this time. The Ferrari's certainly lapping over a second a lap faster at the moment than the other teams, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that. There is where we're waiting for Ralf to appear in view in third place. There he is. From 16.2 it goes to 17.7 seconds, so that's another big gap opened up. In fact, it was 16.9, so just about a second again gained by Michael Schumacher over his brother Ralf, who lies in third.
So Olivier Panis has been sent back out again. He's lost some 5 laps, and it is soul destroying for a driver in these conditions to go out, but sometimes when you've got no pressure, nothing to gain or lose, you drive some of the best Grand Prix. As we watch the two Renaults of Jarno Trulli and Jenson Button having their little private battle, still unable to come to terms with Takuma Sato in that 6th place, and that is a very valuable 6th place indeed for the Jordan team. If they can hold that position through the 53-lap Grand Prix, it will do their position in the Manufacturers' Championship a power of good.
Well, let's see what happens. There's a long way to go in this Grand Prix yet, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of dramas to enjoy. There they go, through the crossover, where one part of the track passes beneath another part, this unique part of the Suzuka circuit. Behind the two Renaults, we just caught a very quick glimpse of Nick Heidfeld running in 9th, the sole Sauber in this race now that we lost Felipe Massa as a result of a spin earlier on. Let's ride again with our race leader, Michael Schumacher.
And Bennett, just watching that, I mean, to watch Michael's hands, the lack of effort, the lack of, in some cases you see other drivers fighting a car, it's just making Michael's job so much easier to have a car that is so kind to you.
A real joy to watch, and let's just stay with him again for another part of the lap. Well, there we are, just enjoying the best part of the lap with Michael Schumacher. Exit speed on 130R in the race so far. He is fastest once again at 294 kilometers per hour. A little bit under what he did yesterday, but still about 185 miles an hour on the exit of that 130R corner. And once again down into the first, and it does look as though it is over now for Olivier Panis.
Yes, and another new lap record for Michael Schumacher, 1:36.477. And there we see the confirmation, and the gap up to 5 seconds once again. Barrichello also pretty much matching Michael in all these sectors, as well. Schumacher now some 20 seconds behind his brother in 3rd place. Kimi Raikkonen maybe sneaking a little bit closer, is about 0.2 of a second quicker on lap 14 than Ralf Schumacher. And also, Ben, just listening on the Sky Channel, there was a little sort of theory being suggested that we saw Juan Pablo Montoya make that very early pit stop in the US Grand Prix. Just watch this bit of replay.
Yep, this super slow-mo up at the chicane. I think we're just watching Michael in action here with this fantastic car, this car that's worked so well.
Anyway, the issue we're talking about Montoya was that he says Williams got a code on the pit board, and that code word has been used all season. And they believe that another team in the pit lane had worked out what was going on, and they actually put that word on their pit board at the point when Montoya was coming past, and that's why he came in. Now, of course, Williams, not foolish enough to continue to use that particular word, the word being switch, have changed to another code, and it could be any word now that they choose to put up on the pit board. Michael Schumacher, 136.125.
Oh, we've got Oscar this time, has gone Alex Young. We saw him spin at the hairpin earlier. This time, I don't think he's going to recover.
No, that's the end of it for Alex Young, I think, down at turn 1 and 2.
Now, that's a great shame for the Malaysian. This is probably his last Grand Prix, and it ends in the gravel trap down there at the first part of the lap. So a tricky part, but there you go. Maybe the concentration going a little bit as the tyre wear increases. Meanwhile, we saw the Renault crew getting ready in pit lane a moment ago. Looks like one of these two will be coming in. It's Jarno Trulli who heads in.
Yes, he comes in at the end of lap 16. That's relatively early to make a pit stop. Last year, the earliest I think we saw, well, in fact, we saw Barrichello on a 3-stopper came in lap 15, but round 18, 19 would be the norm. And this is to try and get him out of sync with young Takuma Sato, to try and use the potential that Trulli has not been able to release because he was running so close behind the Jordan for the entire race to date.
The only problem is that as he comes out...
P5 and push, please. P5 and push.
As he comes out, he's got the two Jaguars not far ahead of him, and that, of course, is going to make life pretty difficult, because I would imagine he's going to catch them fairly quickly, but again, to get past them will be a major problem. Jenson Button has now got the task of trying to find a way past Takuma Sato, but it does look to me as though Renault are expecting him in this time. Yes, look, there you are, the Renault crew are ready once again.
Yes, they are, but immediately that Giancarlo Fisichella came in the pit lane, Button fills the slot left by Jarno Trulli, and Takuma Sato no chance to relax because the pressure will be as strong, even though it's only going to be for one lap. But I would imagine that Jordan will quickly advise Sato not to worry about the presence of Jenson Button. He is coming in, so do not respond and just drive as you're doing.
There you can listen to quite a big lift from Sato in race conditions through the left-hander. Now, Button will be coming into the pits here, remember, so watch the Renault behind you as it peels off. Well, there we are, we're looking from the overhead view. Peels off into the pit lane full speed and then rushes down to the speed limit line, stands on the brakes, gets it slowed down, and then brings it into the Renault pit. 8 seconds was the stop, 8.0 for Jarno Trulli. Let's see whether it's much the same for Jenson Button.
And the other thing to keep an eye on is the pace of Jarno Trulli here. We see him now coming through the chicane, and once he gets up to speed and get an indication now, Jenson Button is going to be very close between these two Renaults. Who's going to get on track? There is to the right Trulli. Button will not make it. Trulli is going to retain his advantage over his teammate, and now two Renaults once again running in tandem.
Yes, and coming up behind the Jaguars, it was a slightly quicker stop, 7.6 seconds versus 8.0, but Trulli obviously very quick on that outlap.
Yes, one lap less fuel on board for Jenson. Of course, he had continued one lap beyond his teammate. As we see now, Jarno Trulli just pulling away from Jenson Button as Michael Schumacher extends his lead 6.4 seconds. And this last lap, it was Rubens Barrichello, in fact, who had the fastest mid-sector time, but nevertheless was 0.3 of a second slower overall in the lap.
This is the battle going on for third place. It's still Ralf Schumacher versus Kimi Raikkonen, Williams BMW versus McLaren Mercedes. Not much to choose between them, but Kimi Raikkonen not in a position to challenge for that place at the moment. The only McLaren still in this race, and remember, Montoya is behind these two, but he's dropped away somewhat from them, not seemingly able to maintain their pace. He's 8.2 seconds behind Kimi Raikkonen now. So Montoya struggling a little bit, as he has been all weekend, really, to get a decent balance on the car. Ralf Schumacher's gap, as you can see, it's about 1.5 seconds between him and Kimi Raikkonen. Michael Schumacher, though, a full 23 seconds ahead of Ralph.
Here's another very important battle. Honda power, Toyota power, Honda power. And this is the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th positions.
We haven't brought Salo in yet. We've seen Renault bring their two in for early stops. As I say that, in fact, Toyota are getting ready in pit lane. So it must be the fact that Salo's coming in on this lap, and this will be to try and, as you said, get him out of sequence a little bit and get some clear running.
I wonder, is this being dictated by the tyre choice, that with Renault and Toyota opting for a different tyre to we see with Williams and McLaren, so they're preparing to come in on lap 19, which is about norm for certainly for a two-stop, so nothing too spectacular or risky from Toyota for Mika Salo.
Jacques Villeneuve just behind these two as well in the BAR Honda, but not able to really close up towards Mika Salo currently. Look how close Salo gets to Fisichella, but he can't actually challenge for the pass, but it's important to him to be as close as possible before he makes the pit stop.
Yes, he wants to maximise every chance he's got, because the closer he gets to the tail of Fisichella,
30 seconds.
so the team calling and counting him down before he gets to the actual stop in the pits. 30 seconds was the count.
Yep, so that means they've brought the tyres out.
Okay, we're ready.
We'll listen to the radio as he comes in.
Good luck, guys.
And let's hope that he gets a good, clean stop. Remember, around 8 seconds, or 7.5 to 8 seconds, the sort of time we saw from Renault. All four tyres are changed. The refueling rig still plugged in now. It comes out 8.4 seconds, slightly longer than the Renault stop.
Yes, interestingly also, some of the engineers diving into the air intakes to make sure
8.4. Very good.
a little bit more fuel taken on board. That was the cause.
Excellent.
So everybody in Toyota very pleased.
View map 1.
So it brings him back out behind those two Renaults. And of course, we'll have to wait and see how it all works itself out. Now, that could gain him a few positions. Fisichella and Heidfeld would be his main rivals. Now, Heidfeld will be coming in. So this will be an interesting one, how Heidfeld comes out, particularly in relation to Mika Salo.
And also BAR waiting for Jacques Villeneuve coming in, so it's going to be a rather busy pit lane at the end of lap 20 with Sauber and BAR coming in. Sauber running in 7th with Heidfeld, 9th for Villeneuve in the BAR. Kimi Raikkonen still in touch with Ralf Schumacher, just under a second. 0.9 is the gap, but the gap, of course, to the front is 25.5 seconds between first and third, and 26.4 between first and fourth.
We're really into proper two-stop territory now, and that's why we're seeing the pit lane getting very, very busy. And I would expect to see perhaps the Ferraris coming in reasonably soon. Doesn't look like they are on 3 stops, I have to say. They've managed to make it through to lap number 19 at this amazing pace that they've been doing, some 25.5 seconds far ahead of their nearest opposition. But into the pits comes Nick Heidfeld.
You've got to be careful coming in this pit lane. You've got a change of surface, tarmac, and then going on to that kind of concrete surface you see there. A little bit slower withdrawing the refueling hose. 9.4 seconds for Heidfeld. Villeneuve comes out behind.
Come on!
And that's Jock Clear shouting at Jack because he might be able to get out in front of Mika Salo. I don't think so. Ferrari, meanwhile, are now getting ready for one of the two cars to come. It's Michael who comes in first from the lead of this race. So Barrichello will now take over the race lead.
And the pace that this race has been run by Schumacher and Barrichello, for that matter, has just been truly astounding. 25-second advantage on the end of the 19th lap. So again, diving into those air intakes to make sure no residue of any leaves, a few leaves falling. But he comes down the pit lane, so he's going to get out. He does. He gets out ahead of third place. So Ralf Schumacher stays in third place. But of course, he's got a lot more of the Ferrari to see.
Well, that was perfect timing, wasn't it? They judged that absolutely to perfection. I reckon they put a fair bit of fuel in there, so the car might have been a little light, but they're running a two-stop strategy, maybe with a slightly lighter car at the beginning. Ralph's getting into a bit of trouble there.
Yeah, he manages to collect it all up, gets into the apex, no problem at all. But that must have a few heads scratching, because I'm sure McLaren and Williams were thinking, well, there's no doubt that Ferrari are on a 3-stop. Well, going to lap 20 before he stops. That does not factor into a 3-stop race.
Now then, John, this is going to be fun because Fisichella's in. Remember how close the battle was.
Just watch the white line on the way out. Watch the white line on the way out. He's got 4 front wing.
Between himself and the Renaults. Oh, a bit slow getting away there. Some more front wing has been applied, and the Renaults have already, I think they will be just ahead of Fisichella as he rejoins, and so he will have lost out considerably there. And in fact, Fisichella has just rejoined, and he's behind Salo as well, so Fisichella losing a lot of time.
And Barrichello into the pit lane, very quick mid-sector for Barrichello, so he wants to reduce the gap, which was 3.9 seconds, but of course that was with Michael in the pit lane. In reality, he's been hovering around the 4.5 for the best part of the race, so watch and see what Ferrari do for Rubens.
9.4 second stop we saw from Michael Schumacher. Is this going to be much the same? Remember, Ross Brawn not here this
Michael's
weekend.
through, no problem whatsoever.
9.8, slightly slower.
Yes, and Rubens really not, and he's lost a lot of time.
Well, he's still pretty
Stunning
comfortable.
outlap from Michael Schumacher, judging by what we've seen.
Of course, he comes out, Barrichello comes out behind the battling Ralf Schumacher and Kimi Räikkönen, but they will be coming into the pits fairly soon themselves. Meanwhile, Jordan, they've seen Fisichella come back out. As I mentioned, he did not get out ahead of Salo. He came out between Salo and Jacques Villeneuve, so he's behind not only the Renaults, but also Nick Heidfeld Sauber. So I'm afraid it was a bad stop for Fisichella. Let's see how Takuma Sato gets on. This is crucial. And of course, he had the Renaults behind him. So this is a very, very important battle now as he comes back out. A quick stop for Takuma Sato. Where are the Renaults? There they are as he bears down out of the pit lane, but I think the Renaults have the advantage. They've done him, and that means that Sato's now lost the chance of scoring points for the moment.
Yes, that'll be a tough blow for Jordan. They did everything perfectly. A good pit stop. Sato's driven superbly all afternoon, but Renault have the pace, and I think they've decided to bring their 2 cars into the earliest opportunity to refuel, take fresh tyres, get out of sync. And, well, Takuma Sato now running behind the 2 Renaults. And, well, what's that going to do for the battle for the Manufacturers' Championship? If it stays status quo, then Jordan will finish 8th as we see McLaren come into the pits.
Kimi Räikkönen.
It's the only McLaren in the race.
It is, so he makes his pit stop on lap number 22. And, of course, involved in the battle with Ralf Schumacher. This is where we may well see a change. I wonder how much fuel they'll decide to put on it. Will depend on how much they started with as well. And this is where the tacticians within the team are working hard to try and gain that little bit of an advantage. If they can get Kimi in front of Ralf, after Ralf has made his stop, he may be able to stay there. 9.9 seconds, quite a lot of fuel on board.
Yes, maybe I'm not sure that was the wisest decision. 89 litres going on board, 19 laps worth of fuel. So Räikkönen goes back out. A team of people back even as far as Woking. And Surrey will be looking at all this information, contributing to the Grand Prix. So Räikkönen needs to push very heavily indeed.
Well, we'll have to see.
It's been a slow stop.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Räikkönen. I wonder if it was a problem, or maybe they're going for a very short second stop, so they may be prepared to drop back from Ralf Schumacher in this stage of the race and then try and jump him on the last stop. Eddie Irvine's just come into the pits. He's just exited, in fact, an 8.4 second stop for Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar.
Well, I mean, that's a 2-stopper from Jaguar. We were looking at Jaguar possibly going on a 1-stop, but coming in on lap 22, so it is a 2-stopper. And we also see Mark Webber in the Minardi makes his way into the pits. Juan Pablo Montoya comes down into 1:30 hour. Montoya in 5th place, having a rather lonely and certainly a very disappointing Grand Prix to date.
Kimi Räikkönen we ride with. Mark Webber's back on his way after a 9.2 second stop. Let's watch with Kimi here. Commitment as ever, although not quite as dramatic as watching in qualifying, of course. He needs to maintain the consistency in the race itself. And Räikkönen currently running in 5th place, but remember, we've yet to see either of the 2 Williams make their pit stops, and still no action likely here.
Yes, interesting that Williams are now on lap 24 and no sign of activity. It's a 53-lap race, so we're coming close to half distance. A little bit of movement now, the tyres are being prepared. So that's after 23 laps we see the top 6. So Williams maybe expect to see somebody in at the end of lap 24. And could be that Ralf Schumacher will be the first of the two Williams BMWs in. The team ready for one of their two cars. Currently Ralf 3.7 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, who once again has taken control of this race after the round of pit stops.
Yes, that's right. Ralph's currently running second, but yet to make his stop. So, of course, this will drop him behind Barrichello once again. Montoya stays out there for the moment, but I would imagine we'll see Montoya coming in soon.
The key for Ralf Schumacher's pit stops is, can he get out before Kimi Raikkonen, who's now in 5th place, comes round. The gap between Raikkonen and Michael Schumacher is 31 seconds, so that's roughly the sort of time we're going to, well, even less than that, for Ralf Schumacher to come in, stop, tyres, fuel, get back out. It's going to be a very close call, and I would not be surprised if we do see a position change between Ralf Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen.
So let's see, as he comes into the pits, he's got to get a good clean stop. Just locks the front wheel slightly, but stops in exactly the right place. Here comes Kimi Raikkonen through the chicane, and this is the battle between them. Ralf now making his way down. He should be all right.
It's still going to be close. There we see Williams at the bottom end of the pit lane, no problem whatsoever. Shorter amount of fuel, fewer laps, but again, that's where the teams have to work out the strategy. It was more important to get Ralf out ahead of Kimi Raikkonen than giving him that extra fuel. They'll worry about that particular problem when it arises, but keep position is the key.
Crucial stint for those two coming up. If Raikkonen can really get on the tail of Ralf Schumacher before the second stop, maybe in great shape. Now we're expecting, of course, Montoya to come in this time. We saw the mechanics ready, but he's still quite a long way round the lap to go. Just going through the hairpin, and he's still got to go through Spoon Curve and then the quick left-hander at 130R before making the chicane and into the pit. So a bit of a way. He's a long way behind his teammate on this occasion. Maybe that's why. Sliding the car, didn't really have great amount of grip and balance there.
No, and that's the problem we've seen from Williams at different points during the season, that the use of the rear tyre being a little bit more aggressive than that on McLaren. But of course, Juan Pablo maybe likes a car that's a little bit more lively. He worked very hard to get rid of understeer, but he certainly had none in the middle of Spoon Corner.
Now watch him come in. See how he's flat out for quite a way before hitting the brakes.
Yes, and that pit lane is not exactly the grippiest part of this circuit, so caution is required.
Makes it all the way down. Quite a long pit lane here and into position. Now, he wasn't involved in any particular battle himself.
But Ben, what's impressive is Ralf Schumacher on his first out lap, fastest of everybody in that third sector. Suddenly Ralf Schumacher and his Williams BMW performing as we would like to have seen maybe throughout this 25 lap Grand Prix to date, and speed coming from Williams and BMW.
So a clean stop for Montoya. He rejoins the fray, and all of the teams have now made their pit stop. That was a good quick stop as well.
Now what's that? Pat Villeneuve and Jordan, that's looking down. That was Fisichella, was it? Well, it wasn't a pass, but looked to me like something had been going on between these two Honda-powered cars. That's the battle for 11th and 12th position.
Yep. Fisichella rejoined after his pit stop between Salo and Villeneuve. Let's take a look and see what happened again here.
Well, Villeneuve, look, he tries to look down the inside, leaves it very, very late. Cannot to get the job done. Fisichella just gently comes across, takes his line, but Villeneuve certainly trying to catch Fisichella, I think somewhat unawares, and then has to back off, and the gap will reopen. There's again the view, but just shows you what Villeneuve has in his mind. He's not here just making up the numbers, but so far down the field in 12th place. Takuma Sato, the lead Honda driver, in 8th, and the one driver likely of all the three teams battling for that 6th place to get into the points at the end of the Grand Prix.
So this is 10th, 11th, 12th. Mika Salo in the Toyota.
Good boy, get in his mirrors.
And that's Jock Clear, his race engineer once again. Very competitive individual himself, and encouraging Jacques to get stuck into this battle.
Yes, that's one way to get a driver to distract him, is to put your car, I've talked about this all year, put your car in the mirror of the car ahead of you. Get the driver ahead of you to start looking in his mirrors, left, right, move around, make him start to think that he's under pressure, maybe more pressure than he is in reality. Watch through this 130R, watch the Villeneuve close up to the back of the Jordan.
Very quick through there, and Fisichella seems to be struggling a bit. Again, Villeneuve has a little look, filling the mirrors.
Now Fisichella slightly poor in the middle of that chicane. Gave Villeneuve a chance to close up slightly, but of course overtaking down the pit straight into turn one is a no-no. There is no space to do it. You've got to be fully alongside the car even before you think about it.
So this is a good battle, and Fisichella there was quite wide. He's got to watch out.
Are you sure we can't use overtake? Sorry, we cannot use.
Trying to listen into the radio a little bit there.
So it's just adding weight to the car. We carry it around the whole race.
Well, whatever's conversation going on, I think that was between team members, but Villeneuve now closer than he's been to the tail of Fisichella, waiting to get himself into position. He knows he's got about one shot on the lap, and that's going to be on the exit out of the 130R. Not much chance here into the hairpin bend. Nevertheless, people have done so in the past, but it's a difficult part. The speed approaching that corner is high. The braking zone very short. Around this turn 12 and 13, nothing at all, no chance to pass. But getting into position on the exit of 13, that's the exit of Spoon Corner. That will be the key to any overtaking manoeuvre that Villeneuve has in mind.
Yeah, a great view back from Fisichella's car to Villeneuve, sliding it a bit as he came out of Spoon. Let's just watch them through here. Oh, that's so fast through there, but Villeneuve not really able to build the momentum much. A little bit of lock-up from both of them.
Oh, that mistake from Fisichella. He goes across now. Whether that will be penalised, be seen to be an advantage, I doubt it very much. But it is a response to the pressure on Fisichella from Jacques Villeneuve. That's what Jock Claire was saying to Jacques Villeneuve. Get in his mirrors, give him a hard time, make him work, give him a working out. Now, there was no real pressure. I think more to do with the fact that whose car was that? It was Mika Salo. So I think Fisichella tried to juggle between Salo slowing down, Villeneuve behind, misjudged it, got it wrong, and took the best option available. Didn't gain any advantage, and nobody lost out as Mika Salo comes back through. And Fisichella then picks up the role that he's been playing throughout this race in 11th place.
Certainly looking back to last year, John, they would let you get away with that once, as Montoya did it once last year, but Ralph did it twice, and he was actually penalised, so he has to be a little careful, I think.
Yes, I think this, though, in this instance, it is a really good battle. It's the major battle right now out on the racetrack, and it was an unforced error, and Fisichella did not seek to gain any advantage. It was just purely an error on his part.
Now we're looking at our race leader as he's up amongst the traffic, getting past De La Rosa there. And Michael Schumacher's advantage is some 7.4 seconds over teammate Rubens Barrichello, and a nearly 30 seconds advantage over Ralf Schumacher in third.
So watch Villeneuve again, close to the tail of the Jordan, but not close enough to make a shot down the inside. Well, he still sticks the car into the mirror, the right-hand side mirror of Fisichella. Again, very close as they come out of this chicane. But of course, it all evens itself. Blow up! Villeneuve has blown up and seized at the exit of the chicane, and it is all over. There you see the rear wheels are locked up. Jacques Villeneuve steps out of the car, and he threw the wheel away. Now put it back on, Jacques. You're a wealthy young man. Don't tempt fate. You could be fined severely.
Yep, they have to put the wheel back on, otherwise the FIA will pass on a fine to the driver, because it makes it...
Well done, boys. You've all worked super hard this season. Next year we'll get them. Yeah, thank you very much, boys. Great work, thank you.
Well, that one came from nowhere. I mean, the engine performing normally here into the chicane, down the gearbox, but getting again to give pressure to the rear of Fisichella. Hard acceleration, there it goes, and locks up. Again, we've seen this from Jaguar this weekend. We've seen it also from Honda. I remember back in the Austrian Grand Prix where Olivier Panis had the scariest lock-up of all, I think, all year. And there it comes to a halt.
Oh, pretty dramatic. Let's watch it from on board Fisichella. How did it look from this point of view? Off it goes. Sideways goes Villeneuve.
But Ben, look, what's going to happen to Jordan? They've got two cars running. They've got identical engines in. There's the face of one of the Honda engineers. Inscrutable. Now, are Jordan safe from blow-ups, or are they going to suffer a similar fate?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. On board with Fisichella, he's still close behind Mika Salo, and in the battle for Japanese honour here. They're going past the yellow flag because of Villeneuve's stranded car, of course. That will be withdrawn after a lap or so, once everybody's been past it.
And Liquid's probably on the track, well, slightly offline. Villeneuve did a very good job in getting the car off the line as quickly as possible. But nonetheless, there may be a little residue on the exit as he makes his way down now inside the pit lane itself, and David Richards ponders. Formula One was never going to be a walk in the park, David. This is not like that sport you're more familiar with.
Well, he's had great success in rallying. He's had a foray into Formula One in the past as team boss or team manager, effectively, for the Benetton team. That didn't work out. Now he's in charge at BAR. Next year he looks to Jenson Button joining the team. But it's been a disappointing Japanese Grand Prix. Remember Villeneuve's accident? That sort of set the scene for this weekend. Panis has had all sorts of problems, and now both cars are out. So, up front, it's still Michael Schumacher, 7.6 seconds his advantage over Rubens Barrichello. 30 laps have been completed, 23 laps remain, and cutting their way through the traffic. Eddie Irvine and De La Rosa running down in 12th and 13th places. Irvine now just being lapped by Michael Schumacher.
Yes, Eddie just pulls over to the right, lets Michael go through. And a lap ago we saw Pedro De La Rosa doing the same thing. And what a frustration for the Jaguar drivers. We thought that from what we saw in Belgium, then in Monza, that they finally had cracked this recalcitrant R3 Jaguar. Got it wrong in America, they owned up to that one, but just never came right here through the qualifying. And right now running in 12th and 13th place with only Mark Webber, the remaining running car, in 14th.
Just a quick point to run through the top six. Michael Schumacher, our leader, of course, from Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher still running third. Kimi Raikkonen fourth. Then it's Juan Pablo Montoya. Raikkonen has dropped away, interestingly, John. We said it was a crucial stage in that battle between Ralf Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen. Well, he's dropped away. He's now 6.1 seconds off the Williams BMW. And if anything, I think Montoya might have closed up a little bit. He's now 9.5 seconds behind Raikkonen. There's nothing like anywhere to battle with him. But it does seem as if in this stint, Ralf Schumacher's going pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, so Ralf on that first out lap was stunningly quick in the third sector and managed just to put a bit of clear air between himself and Kimi Raikkonen. And once he established that, then he's been able to gradually draw away. That 6.1 second gap now sufficient to demoralise Kimi Raikkonen. And with Juan Pablo Montoya, 9.5 seconds behind, Raikkonen cannot relax. Fourth place is not secure. There will be another round of pit stops to come, so still a lot more to play for, but with Williams secure in that second place in the championship, no challenge from McLaren here this afternoon.
So there's Mika Salo and Giancarlo Fisichella, these two running 10th and 11th. It's still Nick Heidfeld running 9th, not too far ahead of them. He's some 6.3 seconds ahead. Trying to pick up a little bit of radio. Don't forget also that in the points it's Jarno Trulli. Right, trying to pick up who that was even on the radio on that particular lap. We're watching Michael Schumacher for the moment, but Trulli, as I mentioned, running in 6th place for Renault. Jenson Button in 7th, and Takuma Sato, who earlier was in a point scoring position, is down in 8th place and still running consistently, reliably, but having dropped behind those two Renaults.
Well, we're just beginning lap 32, and last year again Michael Schumacher came in lap 36, Montoya 38. So Renault coming in, they're preparing, and this is only lap 32, and it's a fairly well. The only other person stopped at that early stage last year was Nick Heidfeld. He stopped on lap 33. Jacques Villeneuve on lap 34. Well, we also had Olivier Panis on lap 32, but he was 2 laps down.
Well, they should be able to get through on just one more stop with 21 laps to go. And of course, we've seen Renault do this a little bit this year, caught us out once or twice, making slightly earlier stops perhaps than the others, but it's just their system, their way of doing it.
And Jenson Button again charging, trying to keep in contact with his teammate just outside the points in 7th place. And giving a very strong showing in the first sector. Trulli responds in the second sector, so who's first in? Well, it looks like it's going to be Jenson Button.
Yes, Jenson Button it is this time. Takuma Sato goes through behind him, and the battle between these three Well,
oh, it's somebody. Was it Montoya?
I think it was.
That was Raikkonen.
Was it?
That was Raikkonen up in the Degner.
So Kimi Raikkonen.
Well, I don't think Montoya was 9.4 seconds, so that looks like there was an error from Raikkonen.
Jenson Button, meanwhile. Oh, it's a slow stop. Oh dear, very slow way.
RFL3, gents, RFL3.
It's all a bit relative in the end. I mean, 9.8 or 9.7, but it seems that tenth of a second is an eternity.
Yeah, especially when he's in a battle with his teammate and with Takuma Sato. It could make quite a difference.
But remember that Jarno Trulli is the incumbent driver and Jenson Button's Honda Land bound with VAR.
Now, let's just see Raikkonen. Well, he's he only lost about a second there, John, on that middle sector of the lap. So let's see what happens.
Here we go, into Degner. Runs it wide over the curb. Well, he did well to keep that car pointing in a straight line, get it slowed down. But just a little bit of a wake-up call for the Finn, not to be too contemptuous of his car. And look at the way he bumps, bounces. That'll do a bit of damage.
Trulli's off. He's off at the side of the road. I don't know whether it's a mechanical failure, but Jarno Trulli, who should have been coming in this next lap, has not made it round.
I can't believe it would be a fuel problem, because both of them are fueled, I thought, to come in identically. Trulli went and did the extra lap, and there's no signs of any mechanical problem. There's no oil, water, smoke or whatever coming out of that car. And Jarno Trulli, well, you can see there's a disappointment in the man as he sits down. And if that's something as simple and as fundamental as running out of fuel, I'll leave it there.
Well, that's very, very disappointing indeed. And we think he may have had a problem that he may have referred to on the radio just a little while ago. Let's just see. Oh no,
he's just coming out of Degner and just pulls over, and that's it.
No smoke that I can see there.
Well, clearly, as he came out of the Dunlop curve, he'd have known whatever the problem was, and he got round the two Degner corners, and then that's it. No more.
Well, I do hope it didn't run out of fuel. That would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Now, Toyota are getting ready for Mika Salo to come back in for his second stop.
And of course that puts Sato back up into 6th place, once again into the points. But Jenson Button, of course, having made his second stop, he's dropped down to 10th place. So all pressure on Jenson Button to get that final point for Renault and battle Jordan, and that single final point for Jordan again would guarantee them to be, well, certainly 7th, possibly 6th, but I think 7th is realistic.
So, no problems for Michael Schumacher. Still looking supreme in front and looking as though he's going to break yet more records here in Japan today. He's looking for win number 11, remember. And it currently looks like another 1-2 finish for Ferrari, with the two of them some 30 seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher, who's running in 3rd place. Mika Salo, we're expecting him to be
30 seconds.
Coming in, and indeed we hear the team radio once again.
Good luck, guys.
So the Toyota team, you see as the shadows begin to fall on pit lane. So Mika Salo exits the chicane. They're ready for him. And the old traction control cuts in as he accelerates. He's flat out almost identical speed as he would be if he was on the racetrack proper. So the Finn comes in for the last time this afternoon. Only the second car to make a pit stop, second round of pit stops.
Good stuff. A well-drilled team. It's their first season, but they haven't made too many mistakes.
That problem. I have a mirror off. Mirror disabled.
Is that a mirror?
Check, stand by.
What's disabled? I couldn't quite work that out.
No, it's so difficult to hear Mika's voice. He's fairly excited. There's something flapping on the right-hand side of the bodywork. You can see something, either tape or something or other, flapping away. Wait until the car comes round. There we can see something just behind his head to the right.
Could you please repeat what Mika said? He had a message with new map off.
So, referring to the message he was getting on his display, but hopefully it's all running okay. This is, to remember, Toyota's first Japanese Grand Prix, and they would love to get a finish. Takuma Sato is putting in a quick lap at the moment. He's just proving to be putting up his own personal best times through 1st and 2nd sectors.
Yes, and that's all to do with keeping Jenson Button behind, because after Sato makes his second round of pit stops, it will all be to play for. Let's look.
Trying to catch the replay here. This as coming out of the pits. It was Mika, I think.
Yes.
We're looking at that.
Did you see that tape fly?
Yeah.
It's just some of that helicopter tape, I think, that they used to tape over the body joints. And some of that has started to flap. Nick Heidfeld comes in from 7th place.
He's been
Jordan also now preparing for, we assume it'll be Takuma Sato. In fact, Sato's been in and out, so it'll be for Fisichella.
He's been having a rather lonely race, has Nick Heidfeld. But he gets away, 9.4 seconds. There goes Fisichella. Now, where is Mika Salo in all of this? Well, he's still coming around. This is going to be close.
It is close. It is close. Fisichella may get it done. He will get it done. Well done, Jordan. Good pit stop. Mika Salo, maybe that little bit of chat on the radio just was sufficient to lose him those couple of tenths of seconds. That's all it is between these two cars.
Oh, it's been such a battle between these two. That must be so demoralising. Now, we are waiting for Takuma Sato to be coming in this time.
All of a sudden, Juan Pablo Montoya's upped his pace, suddenly going quicker than he's done all afternoon. 7.9 seconds behind Kimi Raikkonen, and that battle for 4th place.
So, last part of the lap for Sato. Bit of a lift through 130R, and he'll be coming into the pits as he comes out of the chicane this time.
Well, he's still pushing very hard, just having to make a correction on the turn in. Didn't want to grab too much of the curb on the entry to deflect the car. So down, the gearbox brakes hard on.
That's good tack. We're P6. You're going to push hard to catch Button, okay?
It's the button factor.
Lane, so watch out for him.
It's the button factor that really is going to seal this championship, final championship point.
Yeah, we'll have to see where.
Good, so keep it up.
See where Button is as he rejoins. Away we go, and Button is just heading out of the chicane at the moment, a lot through the curve that heads down, start-finish straight, and out onto the circuit. Here comes Sato. Where is Jenson Button? It's a good stop indeed for Sato. He has got out ahead of Jenson Button. That is the crucial 6th place, and Sato now has the job of trying to maintain it.
So Barrichello in for his 2nd stop. And that was a slow lap from Jenson Button. He was in the 1 minute middle, high 1 minute 40s. So Takuma Sato and Jordan stunning, keeping that 6th place. And for Button now, it's going to be a hard race to get on terms with Takuma Sato, let alone find a way past.
Barrichello makes his 2nd stop and re-emerges ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, but behind Ralf Schumacher. So that puts him back down to 3rd for the moment until Ralf makes his 2nd stop, of course. But Michael Schumacher has only made the 1 stop. We'll expect to see him coming in fairly soon, I would think. 37 laps have been completed, and there are still 16 laps to go.
So Ferrari preparing, and it's going to be in the end of lap 38 that Michael Schumacher comes in for the 2nd time this afternoon. The gap before Barrichello came in was 14.2 seconds. And there was no pressure on Ferrari to ensure Michael Schumacher gets out. It'll be slowly this time. And the world champion through the chicane. Again, that traction control cutting in severely. Watch the speed of the Ferrari down the pit lane. Well rehearsed, get the speed down before you hit that line. And then the interminable time it takes to get down the pit lane. You think it's never ever going to be your garage.
Well, he had a very comfortable 14-second advantage over Barrichello coming into the pits there. Of course, that was before Barrichello made his stop, but I think Michael Schumacher should be safe and sound. Let's just wait and see. Yes, away he goes. 8.0 seconds. Good clean stuff, and he re-emerges ahead of that battle between Fisichella and Salo, which is for 10th place.
Yes, and there we see Barrichello coming out of the curve onto pit straight, and well, everything returns to status quo. Interestingly, Raikkonen, Montoya and Ralf Schumacher have all upped their paces, although there's a gap between those 3 cars. There is something to be honoured, or the honour of getting on the podium, which currently Ralf Schumacher enjoys. Raikkonen being kept honest by the fact that Montoya is upping his pace, and now it's the Williams team that are going to bring in one of their 2 cars, be it Ralf or Montoya. Well, we won't know until we see the turn into the pit lane.
It was Ralf last time, wasn't it? But that doesn't necessarily mean it will be this time, as we ride on board with Montoya with the sun gradually setting. So, the onboard pictures with Montoya showing that he's still attacking, still charging, but he's some 7.1 seconds behind Kimi Raikkonen, so not much to do in terms of closing that gap up. Ralf Schumacher runs in second place, but we're expecting one. Oh, and somebody's blown up big.
That's Fisichella.
Yeah, it's Giancarlo Fisichella, so that's the third Honda-powered car out of this race. The second one to blow up in fairly dramatic style. Villeneuve made it round a bit further, but Fisichella out of the race.
Yes, the same part of track that we saw Sato have a major blow-up on Saturday morning. But Fisichella does the right thing. Instead of going from left to right as Sato did, he stayed on the left-hand side of the track and pulls the car off, and no problem for any traffic that may have been close. Ralf Schumacher into the pit lane in second place, but when he returns, he'll be returning in third. The key for Ralf Schumacher is to make sure he gets out with plenty of comfort zone between himself and Kimi Raikkonen, who is in fourth.
Yes, we might see Raikkonen making a fairly quick last stop, but it's a pretty quick stop there from Williams, 6.9 seconds.
Montoya goes through, but of course Montoya will be coming in probably in a lap's time, and now Raikkonen will be told to push as hard as ever. But Ralf Schumacher was so strong after his first stop. There's the blow up. Wait for the big there, the plume. Again, almost identical place to that of Takuma Sato, but stays on the left-hand side of that. He had both banks this time go in a big burst of flame, and Honda must be wondering, what have we got to do? Two very public blow-ups here in their home Grand Prix, and Giancarlo, well, what a disappointing afternoon for him, having to jump into the spare car before the start of the Grand Prix, and walks his way back. And well, there's still maybe celebrations for Jordan, but not for Giancarlo Fisichella.
I wonder how nervous they must be feeling, though, with Sato still having some 14 laps to complete. He is running sixth, remember, some 3.2 seconds ahead of Jenson Button.
And that means he's going to have to push. Had Button not been so close, he could have maybe backed off a little bit, maybe just give the engine a little bit less harsh treatment. But with Button running in seventh place, so close, he has to keep up his momentum.
So it's Montoya that we're awaiting now in pit lane. There he is. He's running in fifth place. And neither he nor Kimi Raikkonen have made their second stops as yet. I think Raikkonen's staying out there for the moment. So Montoya heads into pit lane. And it looks as though he is going to score some points here today, but certainly not taking the challenge to Ferrari on this occasion. Again, it's a long haul down to almost the end of the pit lane and into position.
And also for Montoya, the battle that he's having with his own teammate, finishing fourth will get. And also for Montoya, the battle that he's having with his own teammate, finishing fourth will guarantee him that he finishes third overall in the championship. Ralf Schumacher being unable to overtake for that third position.
Away he goes then, cleanly away, and fuel on board for the remaining 13 laps of this race. Raikkonen seems to be on quite a long second stint, and he stopped some 3 laps before Montoya, but he stayed out there. We did think he'd put quite a lot of fuel on board, and Raikkonen only 1 point, with him not having stopped yet, he's quite close to Barrichello, but Barrichello has stopped. Mark Webber into the pits for his second stop.
So a lonely drive this afternoon for Mark Webber. We believe it's his last drive in a black car, as we questioned him yesterday.
I watch for Button on track.
Just being advised to keep an eye out for Jenson Button as McLaren now prepare at the last moment for Kimi Raikkonen, and Jaguar Pedro de la Rosa has pulled off at the hairpin bend. So another car out of this race. We're now down to 11 cars running.
Yeah, showing pretty poor reliability this time. We had 17 finish last year, and De La Rosa just drove off the track. Obviously a mechanical failure of some sort. No drive by the looks of things, and race over for the Spaniard. So into the pits comes Kimi Raikkonen. Of course, involved in a battle throughout this race with Ralf Schumacher, but I think Ralf will be very comfortably through and past. There is Ralf as he heads down the hill, and Raikkonen only just coming to a stop, so Ralf will move into a clear third place here.
Well, a quick stop for McLaren. That short changing of fuel in this final stop keeps him ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya. There's Raikkonen out of the pit lane. Montoya still some 300 meters behind as he comes down. And the gap, it'd be interesting to see, because Montoya on this lap 40 as 41 has just recorded the fastest final sector. So as we saw in the States 2 weeks ago, Juan Pablo Montoya coming to the closing laps of a Grand Prix suddenly seems to come alive, and he's realized that he could probably, well, let's say, get a 4th place to make it a Ferrari, Williams, top 4.
Well, he would be delighted about that, but getting past will be tricky, and even catching is going to be pretty tough. Michael Schumacher still lapping cars. That's going past Nick Heidfeld, so he's lapped everybody to 8th position.
Yeah, Michael had to make a rather late pass into 130R. I'm sure that Heidfeld lifted off, but probably maybe not as much as Michael would have liked. Going offline, then having to cut sharply back in front of the Sauber, then to turn into the 130R. Always a difficult task at the sort of approach speed you see from a race car.
Looking back, we can see Barrichello just in the distance. There he is, coming across the line, some 10.7 seconds behind his teammate. And then there's a long gap back to Ralf Schumacher, who's running in 3rd place. Now, this is Takuma Sato. He's back into 6th place. He's ahead of Jenson Button. And in fact, over the last lap or two, he's pulled out a little more of an advantage over the Renault driver. Button is now 5.7 seconds behind him.
Yes, I don't know if that's a response from Sato. I think it's more from Button dropping off.
Well, this would be quite an achievement if he could take his 1st point of the season after what has been a tough rookie year for the Japanese driver, who came in as the British Formula 3 champion of last year. And we've enjoyed watching him throughout the season. Fantastic car control, fantastic commitment. Could today be the day he scores his 1st point? What a time it would be to do it.
Yes, and the 1st point for Sato. Oh, when he missed the apex, then just had to get out of the throttle a little bit to check the car on the exit. Sato's 6th place would be sufficient to put them ahead of BAR in the Manufacturers' Championship. The Jordan team would finish in 7th place, but a 5th place in the championship might also get them into contact with Jaguar. I think Jaguar probably would still stay ahead, though, because they had that podium in Monza. But nevertheless, a very, very tight battle for 6th, 7th and 8th in this year's championship.
Well, let's just take a quick look at the replay of him coming through the chicane. He's driving hard. You might think that Takuma Sato has masses and masses of experience of this Suzuka track. Well, it's not true. He might have begun his career here. He attended the Suzuka Honda Scholarship Scheme, and he won that Honda Scholarship. But they ran pretty low-powered cars. He didn't really do much competition in Japan. He decided to go to Europe at an early stage and has done most of his competition in Europe. So, although he's Japanese, he doesn't actually have as much experience of Suzuka as many of the other drivers out there.
Well, there you can see the gap between Raikkonen and Montoya down to 6.7 seconds. It is closing, but we've got 10 laps remaining, and it's a tall order to run down those 6.7 seconds and find a way past Kimi Raikkonen, who I can assure you will make his McLaren Mercedes the widest car on the circuit if Montoya does get close enough to have a go.
So there is Juan Pablo, the final race of the season. Let's just see what Kimi Raikkonen has been up to. This is also up to the chicane. It's locking that right front.
Yes, and again struggles to slow the car down. And whether he's just pushed a little bit too late. I think it was slightly ragged through the 130R, possibly. And anyway, we wait to see what happens at the end of lap 43, what the gap is. 6.7 seconds, and dropping or stabilising.
Well, let's hope he makes it to the finish. He hasn't had many of those this year, Kimi Raikkonen, and it's nearly always been a mechanical failure that's let him down. Now we've got the other view of Takuma Sato, looking back into the helmet. This stage of the Grand Prix, John, only 9 laps to go. It is a tough track, so he must be feeling it by now.
Yes, but he's a very fit young man, and he's had a season of Grand Prix racing, not as much testing probably as some of the other teams would have. Nevertheless, what a race to come of age, to score your first World Championship point in.
You're safe, so nice and steady, look after the engine.
Well, you heard it. He's been told to look after the engine, and he's still pulling away from Jenson Button. The gap now up to 7.1 seconds, so I don't know whether Button's got a problem. I would imagine so. He cannot compete with Sato.
And I suspect that's very much, as you just watch on the BAR, that David Richards listening to some of the messages, seeing some of the replays, and one of those was of Jarno Trulli pulling off. And I wonder whether Renault have decided that whatever Trulli's problem was, they do not want to see a second retirement this afternoon. and they're prepared to forego challenging for 6th place in the aid to get a finish in this afternoon's Grand Prix.
Well, the nerves are jangling down there at the Jordan pit. Gary Anderson in the back of the pit. There's Eddie Jordan nearest us. It is a tense time. They've lost Giancarlo Fisichella from this race. Takuma Sato is in a points scoring position. This will move them ahead of BAR Honda in the Constructors' Championship. It will earn Takuma Sato his first ever point, but there are still 8 laps to go, and an awful lot can happen in 8 laps.
And you just hope that somebody hasn't pulled the pin on this Honda engine, as we've seen from 2 others this afternoon, Villeneuve and Fisichella. Massive blow-ups from both those Honda units. So Sato under instruction from the team just to take it easy, but still running up to 18,000 RPM, 18,100. So maybe Takuma, it's difficult of course for a driver in this context to back off, because you lose that rhythm. But one way you can back off is to reduce RPM rather than trying to slow down any other way.
Well, so far so good for him. Let's just remind you that up front it's still the 2 Ferraris. Michael Schumacher 10 seconds ahead of Barrichello, then Ralf Schumacher in 3rd for Williams, Raikkonen in 4th for McLaren, Montoya 5th for Williams, and this man, Takuma Sato. Oh dearie, give me a shot there.
Gave me one as well. In the back end of the car, just snapped so quickly. And those reactions, the cat-like reactions that we've seen from Takuma Sato, enormous car control. He got the car back, but it just shows you that maybe just that slight relaxation, realizing that he's not under threat from Jenson Button. He's got no chance of catching Juan Pablo Montoya. All he has to do is now drive. They've got 8 laps remaining. It'll be 7 when he comes across the line. And there, the Japanese fans, you can imagine their shock, horror. They can see this on the wide screens all around the circuit.
Well, that was a big moment. I tell you what, that was a big sideways. I really thought he was going off for a moment there. Let's take another look at it.
Nothing obvious on the track, and all of a sudden, whoa! I mean, a fair amount of lock almost on the stops, and still keeps the car pointing the right direction on the racetrack. And just a reminder that we've still 7 laps of this Grand Prix to go.
Well, it's probably just as well it happened at a 3rd gear 85, 90 mile an hour corner rather than the left-hander at the end of that straight. If he'd got that sideways through 130R, then he might have done an Alan McNish from yesterday in qualifying. But Sato saved it. He stays in 6th place for the moment, and Michael Schumacher is out in front and putting on, as we said earlier, another masterclass, another display here as he looks towards another victory for Ferrari and for Bridgestone. Well, Sato is probably quite happy that he hasn't got anyone filling his mirrors at the moment. It is quite a gap back to Button, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and Button clearly driving under instructions. He's not pushing. So Sato about to find himself lapped by race leader Michael Schumacher. May or may not choose to put a lap on the young Japanese driver. Mr. Takuma Sato, you can see the head down like a fighter pilot in the cockpit of the Jordan Honda. And under no threat whatsoever from Button. Further up the field, Montoya appears to have given up his pursuit of Kimi Raikkonen. It's now 9.5 seconds. And Ralf Schumacher, he's very comfortable in 3rd place. So very much status quo. The interest, the focus of this race solely now on Takuma Sato. Look at this all around the racetrack. It's like a large lemon meringue pie in the grandstand as the yellow and white of the Honda and Jordan. Takuma Sato about to become a points scorer.
No, this is fantastic, but I just don't want to talk too soon. Sato has scored no points whatsoever this year, and yet he's driven well all season long. What an opportunity to do it on home turf here at Suzuka. There is Kimi Raikkonen then, still running in 4th place. Had a reliable run, unlike his teammate David Coulthard, who you remember was one of the first retirements in this race. Felipe Massa went off on his own, but Coulthard then was the first mechanical retirement.
Raikkonen is pushing very hard. He's taken about half a second on that last lap out of Ralf Schumacher's, but I thought was a fairly comfortable 3rd place. So Raikkonen pushing again, some half a second or so a lap quicker on that last lap. But it just may be that Schumacher got caught behind Irvine putting another lap on the Ulsterman in his Jaguar. So we wait and see how the shakeout falls when they complete lap 48. Nonetheless, Raikkonen's laps have been, in the last few laps, quicker than those of Ralf Schumacher.
Quite a long list of retirements. Pedro de la Rosa's out, so is Fisichella. Jarno Trulli out as well, pulled off to the side of the road. Villeneuve with that dramatic engine failure. Alex Young, Olivier Panis, as I mentioned, David Coulthard out, and Felipe Massa from the Sauber. So just the 11 runners still in this race. A little bit of a surprise that at this late stage in the season, normally teams have got those reliability quirks sorted out, but perhaps it's part of what the teams and particularly the engine manufacturers have been trying to do to close the gap up to Ferrari, is that they've had to go over the limit in terms of reliability.
And the race pace has just fallen away completely. Michael Schumacher and Barrichello lapping in now the high moment at 37s, to contrast what they were doing earlier in the race in the 33s, at the low 33, a new lap record. And pretty much the entire field running at that pace as well. Kimi Räikkönen, the last of the runners in the 137s, everybody else 38s, 39s and 40s. Niki Salo, interestingly, also running strongly still in 9th place. So Räikkönen did a 42. Now, where did that one come from?
Yeah,
that might have been Irvine. It was, of course, Irvine was out on the circuit, so whether that was the cause of a loss of time, certainly 5 seconds is a chunk of time to lose overtaking a back marker.
No, he hasn't gone past him yet. He's still behind Irvine. He hasn't had a chance to lap him. Oh, and that's Ralph. Ralph's in trouble. He's from 3rd place, and it's all over for the Williams driver, Ralf Schumacher. That brings Räikkönen up into 3rd place now. Montoya to 4th, and Takuma Sato will come up into 5th place, and Jenson Button will get into the points. Jenson Button will get into the points as a result of Ralf Schumacher going out, but oh, what disappointment. He never seems to have a great deal of luck here in Japan, and Ralf Schumacher, who's driven well here today, you have to say, and it looks like BMW.
That's a pretty severe blow-up again, similar to those we've seen from Honda coming out of that Dunlop curve into the Degner corner. There the team they thought, well, we're going to have 2 cars in the points, and that's a bit of extra bonus for the engineers and the mechanics, and well, their horror at saying Ralf Schumacher, who was pretty comfortable, we thought, in 3rd place. Now it's a 3rd place for McLaren, Mercedes and Kimi Räikkönen.
Well, it's all still happening here, and that's what we've got to watch out for. The Ferraris may be able to run lap after lap after lap so reliably. Just remember, of course, that Michael Schumacher heading for that 100% finishing record here today, and not only that, but every race he will finish this year, he will finish on the podium. What an astonishing mark that is. It's never been done before, and it's just another indicator of the level that Ferrari have risen to this year. The Bridgestone tyres working perfectly. Little replay inside the Jordan pit a moment ago.
Yes, and they are delighted that the prospect of 2 points rather than 1, and of course the battle for that 6th place in the championship that Jaguar have got.
Well, actually, yes, it will move them ahead of Jaguar. They were only 1 point behind Jaguar, so that will...
Yes, it does. So they will be clear water now in 6th place in the championship, and that's a huge fillip for Eddie Jordan and the Silverstone-based Jordan team.
Wow, so... But it's still all got to last the distance. That's what counts here. We're wondering what's about Räikkönen. You know, he had that slower lap just now. Well, next time around he looks fine. A good lap, a 1:38. So back on the pace. So whatever the problem was that lost him some time doesn't seem to have been repeated next time. And Räikkönen in a safe 3rd with Montoya some 6.7 seconds behind him in 4th place. Then it's Sato, and then Jenson Button running 6th. Only 3 laps to go then for Michael Schumacher to record yet another historic victory. What a season it has been for him. He is looking at win number 11 coming up. And the previous record in one season, of course, 9 wins, which Michael had taken several times himself. So had Nigel Mansell. Well, he's certainly taken that record by storm. 11 wins coming up, and that 100% finishing record. All races on the podium. It just gets better and better for the team this year, doesn't it? And today, John, he's driven just an exemplary race.
Absolutely, as he's done all year. Michael Schumacher, in his 11th season of Grand Prix racing, still up for it in a manner I've never seen any other Grand Prix driver in my knowledge of history of Formula One do. And when you get into your sort of late 7, 8, 9 years in Formula One, maybe a bit of weariness or tiredness creeps in, but Michael Schumacher is focused like no other driver I've ever seen, or even any other driver currently or coming into Formula One.
Well, at the other end of the scale is this man, who is also going to be a true hero here today. He's only in his first season of Grand Prix racing, only his 17th Grand Prix as opposed to Michael Schumacher's 179th. But there's no doubt who will be the star if the finishing positions remain as they are. David Richards unplugs the radio. No point in sticking around. Both BARs went out a little while ago, and he's going to see his points tally well and truly beaten by Jordan as a result of this last race of the season.
So Takuma Sato, 2 laps to go. Still pushing, and he needs to be backing off at this point because there's nothing to be gained. I know that's all about rhythm and keeping in focus, but at this stage, Takuma, your biggest moment of your life, forget about it as a racing driver, to get 2 points in your home Grand Prix. And isn't it ironic that it's still unclear as to whether Jordan is going to keep Takuma Sato? They have the option. He is under contract with the team. Talk about Irvine joining Fisichella, saying, I would like Eddie Irvine as my teammate. He's experienced, he's quick, we get on well. But it's Takuma Sato who's going to make a huge difference to Jordan here this day in Japan.
Well, Sato still ahead of Michael Schumacher on the road. Michael having backed off on his pace, so he has not lapped the Japanese driver. And with less than 2 laps to go now, Michael Schumacher presumably won't bother to try and repass the Jordan, or try to pass the Jordan that is running in 5th place. Schumacher might be the star of the season, but certainly the star of the race, Takuma Sato. He was 10 years old when he came to Suzuka for the first time to watch a motor race. He had no background in his family of motor racing, but he just fell in love with the sport, watching the Grand Prix here in 1987, and wasn't in a position to go racing at that age and at that stage in his life. He went into cycling championships and then eventually got the chance to race here at Suzuka, win the Honda Scholarship, and now he's got a great chance to become a national hero. But let's just concentrate on the achievements of Ferrari for a moment, because Michael Schumacher, win number 11 coming up, and their season is going to be finished off in style.
Yes, and the team, as we've seen so many occasions, winning 15 of the 17 rounds of this year's FIA Formula One World Championship. I mean, we've seen McLaren win 15 of 16, but that was at a time when they had utter domination and a huge advantage. As you see Kimi Raikkonen come across to go on to his last lap, some 34 seconds behind the leader, and well, Juan Pablo Montoya. What a disappointing season ultimately this has turned out to be for the Colombian, who promised to be the principal championship contender to Michael Schumacher, and in part down to the team, and in part, I have to say, down to Juan Pablo.
Michael Schumacher glancing in his mirror, seeing perhaps where Barrichello is. He's not that close at the moment. He might just look for a little formation finish. I'm sure he's not going to let Barrichello take the victory this time. Schumacher wants to finish his season off in style. He's broken so many records this year. He's matched Manuel Fangio on 5 titles. He's already got a record points tally. He's going to add to that. It's going to be up to 144 points scored in one season. 11 victories, up to 64 wins in his career. This will make it. And of course, becoming the first driver ever to achieve a podium finish in every race in one season. Here he comes, the star of 2002, there's no doubt about it. Michael Schumacher wins in Japan for Ferrari. It's another 1-2 finish. Rubens Barrichello crosses the line right behind him, and Ferrari and Bridgestone complete what has been one of the most dominant seasons ever.
Yes, and Ferrari, they managed to stage what they should have been doing 2 weeks ago in Indianapolis, get it correct this time, and Michael, the rightful winner, having dominated the Grand Prix from the moment those 5 red lights went out. Kimi Raikkonen delighted with his 3rd place, but look at the Jordan team running across the pit lane to support their young Japanese driver and his 2 World Championship points.
Across the line, Juan Pablo Montoya takes 4th place. Well, he's off the podium. Hard day's work for not a huge amount of reward, but it does wrap up that 3rd place in the championship. But here comes Takuma Sato. Everything sounds okay. He's going to make it. He's going to finish the Grand Prix. He's going to finish in the points for the first time in his career, and he's going to move Jordan ahead of BAR Honda.
Good job, Michael.
And Jaguar.
Fantastic job.
as we're hearing Michael Schumacher on the radio.
An unbelievable year we have had altogether.
But the story here,
You guys, you have done an unbelievable job.
Sato finishes 5th.
It's going to be difficult to repeat this, I'm sure, or basically impossible. But
Well, look at that. What fantastic celebrations will be going on here.
Yes, and Peter Winslow first up to speak to Eddie Jordan, and justifiably delighted.
Superb stuff indeed. Oh, he's done it. What a qualifying effort he put in yesterday, and he's backed that up superbly with 5th place here.
And I mean, David Richards, although his 2 cars were tired, he's delighted because that's the engine that, well, it's not going to be the same engine they will have next year. A brand new V10 unit will come from Honda. And Takuma Sato, I hope he hasn't released his seatbelt. He's not allowed to do that, but so keen just to acknowledge the support that he's now going to enjoy all the way around this 3.6 mile circuit. Eddie Jordan on the Sky program, he's being interviewed, and Eddie, always a word for an interview, but he also is emotional, and this is probably one of the most emotional and important 2 points that he and his team have scored in any of the championships he's been in since 1991.
But it's Michael Schumacher who celebrates the win here at Suzuka, and as you heard on the radio, thanking the team and saying, well, this is surely a unique season to be able to be this far ahead of the opposition. He is the best driver, and he's been in very much the best car this year, and that is how he has scored that number of points. An amazing tally of 144 points to end the season. Montoya confirmed 3rd in the championship, Schumacher 4th, and David Coulthard 5th in that title battle in the end. But look further down the list, 2 points to Takuma Sato, 2 very crucial points.
And watching him drive round and receiving the plaudits. Look, I mean, imagine if he had won the Grand Prix, he'd probably get out of the car, put it on his shoulders and walk around the entire lap. He is so pumped up, the adrenaline in his blood right now, it's just absolutely fantastic. And talk about coming of age in your home Grand Prix, well, it got no better today for Takuma Sato than that.
In the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari have got more points than all the other constructors put together. An astonishing tally, but Jordan have moved into 6th place ahead of Jaguar and BAR Honda. Minardi end up 9th, Toyota on the same number of points as were Arrows, who of course didn't make much of the season towards the end of the year. But this Japanese crowd has really had something to cheer about. Despite a very easy win for Ferrari, they were absolutely enthralled by the battles that Sato was involved in, and delighted to see him come through for 5th.
Yes, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a repeat of what we saw in Australia when Minardi scored their 2 points with Mark Webber. That was Mark's first Grand Prix. This is the last Grand Prix of the year, 17 on. That Takuma Sato may try to repeat something similar to Minardi. There's so many people in the grandstands, and it would be very appropriate.
Well, it's been a tremendous relationship, the Schumacher-Barrichello relationship. They might have done some slightly wacky things this year with their finishing orders, but it was a straightforward race today. Michael Schumacher had the advantage throughout and took the win, backing it off just at the end there to get the photo finish. Not quite the photo finish he was talking about in America, but look at this support. Just tremendous scenes here at Suzuka as Takuma Sato just celebrates this, laps it up. You know, it'd be a huge number of British fans, I know, delighted to see this, because he was so impressive in British Formula 3 last year in particular, driving for Carlin Motorsport, winning the British F3 Championship. Teammates, of course, to Anthony Davidson. Davidson also here this weekend. I'm sure he'll be delighted for his former teammate. And that was a great decision, really, that he made to come over to Europe to battle in the British Formula 3 series. And starting out, in fact, in Formula Vauxhall Lotus in Europe with Huey Absalom's team.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, it's great to see a driver, you know, so young, so enthusiastic, so pumped up in front of his home crowd. I thought maybe at some stages in the season he thought, is it ever going to happen? Am I ever going to get one single point? Well, here in Suzuka, he picks up 2 points, and there's going to be one very happy Japanese family here this afternoon.
Oh, it really is tremendous, and the highlight of this Grand Prix in many ways. after the Ferrari dominance of this season. But really, it's an expected result. But to see Takuma Sato, well, he always seems cheerful no matter what's going on. But this is really special.
And yes, Andrew Gilbert, Scott, his manager, there as well to congratulate him as Japanese TV. And the circuit announcer, I think.
Well, I wish I understood Japanese, but I bet he's saying I'm really, really happy. There, the race classification then. Michael Schumacher, the winner once again. Win number 11 this year, ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Another 1-2 finish for the Ferrari team. Kimi Raikkonen third, Juan Pablo Montoya fourth, Sato fifth. Jenson Button, let's not forget that British driver Jenson Button did gain the final point here today, so it's been a little while since he's been in the points, so he'll be relieved to have finished. Well, in fact, he was in the points in Monza, got 2 points for 5th place there, but pleased to be back into the points once again. And everyone else, I'm afraid, not making it into the points on this occasion. Sauber did have enough points from already having scored this season to take 5th place in the Constructors' Championship. A little bit of something going on between Ralf Schumacher and Pedro de la Rosa there.
Yeah, there's obviously something on track, Ralph. No doubt feeling that De La Rosa didn't fulfill his obligation.
So Michael Schumacher has been on the podium every time this year, and the top step more often than not. And that's how he's become 5 times world champion. Bridgestone can celebrate their 100th Grand Prix with yet another victory to add to the tally. And Rubens Barrichello backing up the great success for Bridgestone here at Suzuka. Michelin having to settle for a 3rd place, and it's funny, isn't it? Kimi Raikkonen, a lot of poor reliability this year, but he was 3rd at the opening Grand Prix in Melbourne, despite 1 or 2 little problems, and he's finished 3rd here at Suzuka, the last Grand Prix of 2002.
Yes, and the whole process of development and refinement for the cars for next season, in McLaren's case, is going to be the car Kimi has driven here this afternoon, until they can get the latest engine from Mercedes-Benz to give them parity with Ferrari, but probably more principally with BMW. So a few days off, and they're back to the bump and grind of testing. And really, before we know it, Ben, March the 9th will be coming around, and the 2003 season will be beginning. But I think Michael's sentiments on the talkback radio to the team I can't imagine they can have a season like they've had this year next year.
Well, I'm sure Williams, McLaren, Renault and the rest will all be trying their very best to make sure he doesn't, and closing that performance gap that we have seen this year. Well, so many times in the past we have seen teams rise to the top and enjoy a period of dominance, but it does not last forever, no matter how hard they try. We've seen it from Williams on several occasions. Remember how Nigel Mansell won that 1992 World Championship, completely dominant. But come the next few years, of course, Prost took over that seat and also won the championship. They stayed near the top, but of course Benetton then came back at them, and that's the fortunes of Formula One. Somebody's always there, somebody's always going to come back at you. And whether it be Williams, McLaren, Renault, Sauber or Jordan, or BAR indeed, with Honda power next year, somebody will close the gap to Ferrari, I'm sure.
Yes, and for me that's always been the fascination of this business. It is such a difficult business. The amalgamation of maybe 400 or 500 people in a team, Ferrari probably even more than that. Every single element of that team has to work in unison, and at the end of the day it's given over to a character, a personality, a sportsman, who then has to drive 190 miles or more in a Grand Prix in conditions that, say, like today, fairly good, in fact excellent conditions, or on other occasions appalling conditions. And the responsibility that a driver carries, you consider the base that a team comprises, well, it's one of those sports, unlike any other form of athletics, that I think makes it so unique.
Well, he never loses his enthusiasm, and he never loses his enjoyment of winning. That's what drives him. He has, as you talked earlier, John, during the race, astonishing motivation, an astonishing hunger for winning, for success, and that it just does not seem to lessen or reduce, despite the fact that he's now been competing at the highest level for some 11 years.
Yes, but it isn't I think the desire to create records. It's the desire to, it's excellence. So it is something that is an example to any driver, and we watched Takuma Sato being feted by the press, not just the Japanese press, this is the world press. And what delight for Jordan. Many of the drivers, their hair bleached blonde with a red spot. They will go back now to Silverstone and be proud to go out with their family, friends, dinner, pubs, whatever, and say, well, our man did the business for us. We were 8th in the championship. He got us 2 points. We're now up to 6th place in the championship, which is fundamentally where the team ought to have been all the way through the year.
Yeah, that's true. They've done it, and Honda have got something to celebrate. They can really get some great PR out of this performance from Takuma Sato after what has been a bit of a disappointing season for Honda generally. I'm sure they will make the very most, and of course Bridgestone tyres on that car as well, so an entirely Japanese success there, except of course for Jordan. I suppose it's a bit hard to claim that Jordan has the Japanese team. Let's go and join the top 3 drivers now.
Japanese's Grand Prix is over, Formula One season is over, and Michael Schumacher rounding out the season with his 11th win. Rubens Barrichello 2nd also for Ferrari, and Kimi Raikkonen 3rd for McLaren. Michael, you've taken your record out to 11 wins in one season, 144 points. The records keep tumbling in. Podium finish in every race. It has been one incredible year.
Yeah, it has to be said. That's true. I don't think it's necessary to say much more than the results talk. It's just fantastic, and what has been outstanding mostly is that we haven't been retired for one race. We finished all the races, and not only we finished all the races on the podium, and that shows about the quality of job and mechanics we have done and we have, and it's unbelievable what they have achieved. And today I think has been a special day in 2 meanings, because we have achieved what we have achieved, plus the Japanese fans have basically 2 winners, me winning the Grand Prix and Sato taking his first points in his home Grand Prix. So the fans, I guess, they had a good Grand Prix and been very excited.
But Suzuka's a circuit where you always go incredibly well, but that opening lap, you pulled out 2.3 seconds after a scalding start, and after that it was really job done.
Well, that's the major point, that you get a good start and you sort of get a gap, so then you can plan your race, you can put everything in order to have the pit stops at the right time. And that was the only plan, honestly, because once you're up front, it's difficult to be overtaken. I've been all weekend very fast, and it is no surprise that we have been able to pull out the gap to the others, in all honesty. And the only thing you can say is being happy and now look forward to a nice winter time, relax, to get strong back for next year.
Michael, thank you very much. Rubens, you also made a good start, kept those McLarens behind you, and then were able to run a very clean race. And that makes you, obviously, your second place means that you and Michael are now the most successful pair ever in Formula One as a partnership. What a partnership, overtaking David Coulthard and Mika Häkkinen.
Well, no, I'm so happy as well for myself and for Ferrari. I think with, being part of such a family with such a car, it is incredible. I mean, I had a good start. The car was bottoming out a little bit too much at the first 3 or 4 laps, and I was struggling a little bit. I had to be careful. So Michael opened up quite a big gap to begin with, and it was difficult to cope with that in a way. But as we said, we had such a great season. For me, it's been 2 wins out of the last 3 races is just a great achievement.
Now, those round black things on your car, the tyres, this was Bridgestone's 100th Grand Prix, and victory on their home circuit at Suzuka must have been pretty special for them.
It is. I mean, we have been together for this last 3 or 4 days, even more together than we normally are, and it's been a wonderful season with them. I mean, they really work hard for us, and it's paying off. I mean, it's a strong relationship, and it's going to be even stronger next year. So we are happy for them, and I believe they're so happy. I mean, in their home Grand Prix, 100th, just finishing with a win is fantastic.
Rubens, well done. Thank you. Kimi, the Ferraris started well. You lost ground at the start with Ralph getting past you into 4th place. Did that change the way you ran your race?
Maybe a little bit, yes, because then I stuck behind him. Before the pit stop I was a bit quicker, but then he ran longer than me and was able to pull away a little bit.
Now, with about 5 laps to go, you suddenly slowed right down, and it looked from the outside your engine sounded a little less than perfect. Then you speeded up again. I don't know what the problem was, but also at that time you suddenly, as things were going bad, they turned good because Ralph pulled off from 3rd place.
Yeah, we had some kind of problem. I don't know really what was it, but it's just slowed down on the back straight suddenly, and I asked what is the problem, and then when I came to chicane and slowed down, everything was normal again. And then Ralph, I think so, he had something problem with the engine or something, and yeah, I was a bit lucky, but I think so once a year, if I am lucky, it's not a bad thing.
Kimi, thank you very much. Michael, finally back to you. You say a little bit of rest, but I know you're going to start working again on next year's cars very soon. How long are you going to allow yourself to have a holiday?
I mean, from our point of view, it's a little bit easier because we have done now the job, and we can relax until our engineers come back with a new car. We will normally start by sometime in January to go back on the road testing. There might be reasons to go within the 3-week testing opportunity in November, December, but we will find out whether this is necessary. But as you said before, I like to put myself as well the compliment to Bridgestone, which have brought here a superb tyre for a very special result. 70th win in 100 Grand Prix, and that's together with us. It's quite an achievement, and I'm very happy for them on their home ground. And another word I would like to say to Ross, who hasn't been able to be here with us this weekend. It's the first race he missed. Hello. It's the first race he missed in his all-time, and I think he's sort of disappointed not to share this moment with us. But we know that you think about us, and we think about you, and we hope that you get well very soon. We look forward to see you in good health. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, if you'd like to speak in your own languages, starting...
Oh, nice comment there from Michael at the end. Ross Brawn, of course, so much part of the success of Ferrari, and sadly not able to be there at the track this time, but still very much a part of what they've been doing this weekend.
Yes, I mean, Ross, really the catalyst in bringing together the key people along with Jean Todt at Ferrari, but also doing it at Benetton. And the relationship with Michael Schumacher and Ross goes back to those days in Benetton when he drove in the Italian Grand Prix for the first time in a Benetton 1991. And very quickly it became apparent that this was a very special race driver, a unique man. And Ross and Michael's partnership will go down in history as one of the most outstanding and just fantastic ones that I've ever been aware of. And again, they only come along, I would say, once in a blue moon. Well, this blue moon's been out for almost nearly 11 years now, and well, it doesn't seem like it's going to go away.
No, indeed. He will take some beating again next year, but that will be the challenge that all the other teams will have to take up. And, of course, they will be busy testing, I'm sure, in that 3-week testing window towards the end of November. They will be working very hard indeed to try and get new developments through. We know, we've seen already that Williams, McLaren in particular, are working hard on new developments, and they know the magnitude of the gap they have to close. And, of course, they'll know also that Ferrari will take yet more steps ahead. So it really is quite hard coming from behind. But you can bet that Williams, McLaren and all the rest will be doing their utmost to do that here, well, to do that over the winter months and before the first Grand Prix in Australia.
Just